Hello and welcome back to the Bright Founders Talk podcast from Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. My name's Chris, and today's guest is someone who has founded two thriving businesses that look at helping others to get into the world of tech. Sebastian Barajas, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
Thank you very much, Chris. I'm very happy for you having me here today.
Pleasure. Like always, we have some warm-up questions, nice and laid back. The first one, what's the best way to kick off the day, in your opinion?
Well, I tell you what is my morning routine, because I get up very early. So I am early bird. So I get up at 5:30 in the morning, and then I sit down to meditate for 1 hour. Then I take my dog, and we take a long walk, 1 hour walking. And then when I get back home, it's around 8. Then I take a shower, I take the breakfast, and at 9 I start my work day. So this is my morning routine. But then, obviously, I am early at bed as well. I mean, at 10 p.m. I am already sleeping.
No, it sounds very healthy. Sounds nice. A nice way to start the day. Sun coming up, and so on. Very nice. And in terms of relaxing, away from any kind of screen, what's your favorite way to relax?
Well, I have several ways to relax, but I could say mostly what I am a good reader, and I like to read crime novels, and this is my passion. So I read a lot. I always reading a crime novel of different authors. I like TV series, and the many different, very, very good ones. And in the weekends, I like cooking. So it's another way. It's cooking for friends and having dinner parties. So these are my hobbies.
What's your signature dish? What's the one dish you're very proud of that you can make very well?
I don't know how to say that in English, but in Spanish we call fabada, and it's using these beans, white beans, with pork and sausage. So it's a very strong food, typical in the north of Spain from Asturias. But this is one of my favorite dishes, and I think that I do well, and my friends appreciate when I cook it for them.
Yeah, I've heard about food from Asturias. It sounds very, very nice, very filling, right? You don't need to eat the rest of the day, right? Just one plate and you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
And the final question is, what do you listen to or read that inspires you in business?
I used to read a lot in business, and even for a time I was subscribed to the Harvard Business Review, and I read a lot every month. But recently, I have somehow quit to read about business. I only read when somebody really recommends me something that is special. I think I don't want to be presumptuous, but I have read a lot about the business and the startups and things. You see that I am not a young person. I am young in spirit, but not. So over the last, let's say, 40 years of profession, I've read a lot of business books. Some of them I still review them because there are some basic and fundamentals books, but only I read new books as much as a person who I trust, whoever it is, will tell me, you have to read this one because it's really adding something which is worth knowing and is new. And then I read. And when I walk a lot. I listen to podcasts. And again, one is the Harvard Business Review, a podcast about innovation. I can say that this is something that I am listening, and for example, the series about artificial intelligence is very good in this respect.
It's a hot topic right now, isn't it?
Yeah,
maybe you guys have known about it for years, but for the average person, it's just exploded right now. But nice. Now I see that you have experience working in Barcelona and Madrid, so I just want to know your opinion about the working lifestyle in both places. Are they similar? Are they very different?
Honestly, I lived in Madrid more than 30 years ago, so things have changed a lot in this time. But well, the difference is not the working habits, but it's after work habits. And so in Barcelona, you are in Barcelona, you know that normally we are when we leave the office in the afternoon, many people goes to the gym or goes straight ahead to home to take care of the family, wherever. In Madrid, it's more common to go and to have a drink and to have a beer. So that's the difference. And another difference here is when there is good time, even you can leave the office at 7 p.m. and go to the beach, something that in Madrid you cannot do, obviously. But otherwise, I think that the working habits are quite similar.
What about in terms of the types of companies or jobs that you can find in either city? Are there more opportunities in Madrid or in Barcelona, or does it depend on the
It
type of
depends,
industry?
yeah. That's the I wouldn't say that, but the industrial structure is significantly different. I mean, in Madrid, traditionally, Catalonia and Barcelona as the capital was the industrial part of Spain. So from the 19th century, the beginning of the 19th century. So here in Spain, if you know a little bit of history, so the Industrial Revolution only happened in two parts of the country. It was in Catalonia, in the Basque Country. Okay, so when in Europe the Industrial Revolution was in the highest peak, we had here industries in textiles, basically textiles and a lot of trade here in Catalonia, and heavy industry like steel mills and these type of things in shipbuilding in the Basque Country. This was the tradition. So we have a long tradition of companies and industries and business and whatever. And Madrid was the capital where the political people were and the king and the court and these things. This happened when with Franco in the 60s that they implemented, I wouldn't say a fictional, but a government-driven industrial revolution in Spain. And then Madrid started to develop, and they put a lot of money in developing Madrid as an industrial area. And after that, in the 80s, with these public companies, because all this revolution, all this industrial process was made with public funding and public companies, government-owned. And they were privatized in the 80s, and they remained or they stayed in Madrid, and they became these large corporations that we have today, like Telefonica or the utilities in the electricity and Endesa, whatever, that it is big, what used to be public monopolies, and they became private industry. So that's the difference. In Madrid now you have huge companies that used to be government owned and then were privatized, and you have a lot of services around that. You have the big banks, big retail companies. I mean, most of the big companies have the headquarters in Madrid, and then the big law firms, consultancy firms, and there are around these companies in Madrid. In this respect, there is a lot of opportunities there. But here in Barcelona, the transformation, it's been more around technology and startups. So I think that Barcelona, wouldn't say, I don't know if they were among the fifth or the five most technology cities in Europe, and there is a lot of entrepreneurial people, entrepreneurship, creating new industries, and a lot of family-owned business that have grown a lot over the last 25, 30 years, that they are exporting 70, 80, 90% of their production. So, in fact, in this respect, the industrial structure, the economic structure in Barcelona is significantly different than this in Madrid.
Well, I have been to Madrid, but I haven't. I've only been there on holiday. But living here in Barcelona, it does seem a lot more. Everyone seems to be in tech in some form, so I'm not sure whether that's just coincidence.
That's the new. Yeah, this is the new industry from the last 20 years, and it's really becoming something important now.
Now, going back to your own studies, did you always know what you wanted to do, or were you still finding your way at that time? You were still looking for...
No, I never knew what I wanted to do, honestly.
Still now,
I never
know.
Sure. No. So when I left the school, for whatever reason, I was when I started university, I was 16, so many years ago, because my birthday is in November, and I started that year in September, the first year of university. So I hadn't. I was still 16, and I was going to be 17 in a couple of months. Okay, so 16 or 17, you are a kid, you don't know nothing. So I went to study economics because honestly, I didn't know what to do. My father had a small business here in the wholesale market of fruits and vegetables, which traditionally was called El Borne, and then when it moved, but it's the central market. Honestly, in my family, was not a tradition of going to university, so I was the first person going to the university in my family, and really, nobody helped me. I didn't have a father that was a physician or a university professor or an engineer or whatever. They were business people. They had small businesses. We lived very comfortably, but not in the side of being a professional. So I enrolled in the economics faculty or school, and when I finished, normally the studies here are extremely theoretical. So when I finished, I didn't know anything practical to get a job. So then I went to take an MBA in a business school, and this is what I did. Yeah, here in Esade, where is in a business school here in Barcelona. And the business school was much more practical and focused. And when I finished, I was very entrepreneurial since the beginning. So with a couple of friends, they were older than me, and they had already left the business school 2 or 3 years before, and they had some experience in a small consultancy firm. And I joined them because they started by themselves, a consulting firm about finance. I mean, it's in financial services. And we started a small startup in the early 80s. The point is that our first consultancy practice was very pure consulting. But at some point, we decided to start developing software in a moment where software was the first generation, the real first generation of software. And we developed financial software. And this was a success. And then, my life has been always around technology. I've never been a techie myself, so not really, but I've been managing technology and working in technology since the beginning, but I had never planned for that. I mean, it simply happened.
In that time, like you said, if you were at the forefront of software, and also like you're saying, you told us, you were the first person in your family to go to university. Did you ever have people around you very skeptical about what you were doing? Was there a bit of sort of pushback because they didn't really understand, everything was new? Did you feel like...
You mean when I started in technology?
Yeah, tech, and then you said you come from a family that's not really involved
really, they didn't understand, but they saw that I was very happy and working a lot, so they were happy as well, but never understood what I did.
Okay, fair enough. But it worked out anyway. Well, so how did you said you started that first business, the consultancy. Were there any things that you said it was very successful, but were there any things that went wrong that you had to overcome, and you've used that as a learning experience?
Well, the point is, when we started doing just consulting, so we did a consulting practice around managing short-term finance, basically treasury, accounts payables, accounts receivable. Was very technical, very specific. That was very difficult to sell because at that point, we are talking when Spain was still very primitive, and even the companies, they were very primitive. I mean, there were administrative department people that really did the accounting, or recording the invoices, the payables, the receivables, whatever, but not thinking in terms of managing cash or managing the money in the corporation. It was very difficult to sell. And even when we finished one consulting project, the thing is, now what? Because it was very difficult to implement. And this is when we were then selling, what do we do? Because this is not really working. And then we decided to start we need to go into software. I mean, we need to really develop automatic systems that can help these people to really implement what we are telling, because what we are doing is very sophisticated. And the procedures and the systems and whatever they have now, it's impossible that they can really move forward with what are our recommendations. And this was the pivoting of the business. And then we started into the software business. Into the software business with a strong knowledge about the functional area.
Trying to help businesses in Spain at that time be more advanced and be more streamlined, right?
Exactly.
You seem like a very altruistic person, doing a bit of research on you. And I saw that you did some volunteering as a coach for other entrepreneurs. What was that experience like? I mean, why did you do it? You feel like you want to give back?
Well, yeah, well, I like to give. And so I like to talk to people and I like to help if I can. So I was not this way when I was very young. So this is something that I've learned over time. So I've learned that it's much better to give than to just request and receive. Okay, so this is something that I've learned over time as I got older. But the point is that a friend requested me. He was managing this entrepreneurial organization, and you know that this is an international group of people that they meet together because they support each other when they have downsides and issues. Well, I was not a member of the entrepreneurial organization, but this person was organizing coaching sessions and he invited me, and I was very happy to help. And then it's just basically talking to people and helping people to clarify ideas. And I've always liked a lot about psychology. And later in my life, I worked in organizations in the area of change management. I've been a meditator for many years, so I feel very comfortable helping people and talking to people about personal issues.
I just wondered if it was something also related to, as you're an entrepreneur yourself, did you feel like there was a lack of support in this area, for other entrepreneurs? Because maybe Spain is kind of fairly new in, let's say, the tech world is normally based on tourism. So lots of maybe ideas to build businesses, but not, young Spanish people don't really know how to sort of do it, maybe?
In my current business, I am constantly talking to young people, young, not that young, but I mean younger than me, and I always helping them. We are, we try to provide them with some help when they need it, right? So I wouldn't say it's not a formal coaching process, but we like to do that. And I think that there are many initiatives around coaching young people in this. So I think that if anybody needs some support, they can find it, because in the market there are many people trying to help.
Okay. Well, talking about improving other people or society, can you tell us a little bit about the first company you founded, 3 out of 5? What do you guys do?
Well, 3 out of 5 is an initiative with, this guy, my partner here, which is a friend, was the first person that I mentored in entrepreneurs organization. Right? So then we became friends. We are conflict. But this is something that happened when we were confined in the COVID time, and we were bored, obviously, because this is my partner and friend Roman. Is another serial entrepreneur, and one thing he's very concerned about climate change and clean atmosphere and clean air here in Barcelona, and has developed an initiative. And one thing we realized was, listen, I mean, now we are doing more for the environment. That this is what the only positive thing with the COVID. I mean, cars are stopped, nobody's moving, so the air is clean, and the birds are singing and are flying, and everything is. So when human beings we stop doing things, so the nature grows, right? And then we started thinking we should promote this So people working from home. It's avoiding people commuting and wasting oil and putting gases in the atmosphere and these type of things. And this was the idea: how to help corporations to really implement and manage this remote work, using the idea that this was good for the environment. And this was the idea. And then we have developed other, because at the end, corporations, they did that because it was mandatory. You know that now most of them, they have came back, but we developed some tools to really manage remote work and managing performance and managing teams. I mean, this was what we did at that time.
So right now, you still persuade companies to consider doing more of a hybrid or completely remote?
Yeah, this is the idea. We try to do that. It's not easy. Okay, well, it's something that is not easy, but we try to do that.
What benefits do you mentioned about the benefits about the environment? What other benefits are there for a personal level? What have you noticed?
I think there are many, because when we started doing that and we started running surveys over the personnel of different companies that hired us at that time, what we learned was that workers and professionals, they really wanted to stay at home, and they really hated the commute every day and the time they lost, and they felt productive, and their performance was similar or higher than when they were in the office, and they had more personal time, better diet. And so the idea is that it's good for workers, and they want that. But then corporations, they thought that people at home, I think this is something that I wouldn't say it's difficult to manage, but in the specific industrial sectors, is something that will stay. I mean, for example, in technology. So working remotely in technology is something that makes all the sense. But companies are still struggling to really implement policies, and there are benefits, there are side effects, and how to manage these side effects to really make not only the individual a high performer, but the whole organization performing at highest level. But this is a challenge, but it's something that with the technology that we have today, it will happen.
Yeah, I think, it's a really interesting one about food. I think when I used to work in offices or in schools, eating out every day or buying stuff from the shop it's a terrible diet.
It's terrible.
Really bad. Now, I read on your other company, on the website, it mentions, in our Code Academy, you won't just learn to code, you will also become a professional programmer or data analyst. With our career services, we'll help you get your new position step by step. How is it different with your academy then? How are you're trying to push people into jobs, like you help them evolve and also help them in their career?
Well, the first point is we use a very specific methodology, right? Which is 100% learning by doing. So we don't lecture. And our program is based on different modules, and each module is a project. So it's project-based. But it's not project-based in the sense that I know other competitors do that they request students do a project. Think whatever you would like to do. Because our students are beginners, so we cannot ask them to do a complex project. So we have developed the projects for teaching purposes. This is a quite sophisticated methodology, right? It's not something that we have improvised over time. That's another story. If you want, we can talk about that later. But the point is that our course is structured in projects. And the projects, the students don't receive lectures, they are assigned to tasks. And our platform, each project is divided into tasks. And each task has always a deliverable, which is basically a program that they have to do. What we call a plan of attack, which is a procedure to follow step by step. What we call resources, which are the pieces of theory that the student needs to solve that specific problem. So what we don't do is to put all the theory up front and you will see what to do with it. But we are giving the concepts. I don't like to call it theory, but the concepts that you need to solve this specific problem. And every task you receive new information and you are building your knowledge, that you are doing things. And to do things, and you are always with the supervision, the close supervision of a personalized, we call it mentor better than professor, but a person who is always available to solve any doubt and to help you, guide you in your learning process. The point is we assign you to do this, and then you have to think. You have to think because you have to do it. You are not passively listening to somebody who is telling you, but you have to do the thing. It's like when you teach English. So you make people to talk because if they don't talk or write, they don't learn. Just listening, you learn nothing. So, and then since every task, the next task is more complex than the previous one, and the second module is more complex than the first one, and every day in the program grows in complexity and really grows very highly in complexity. So the students basically learn how to think like a professional. So we don't say you will learn how to program. Of course you will learn how to program, but this is instrumental. You will learn how to think like a software engineer or a data analyst. This is the first point, right? You are really learning a profession, not some basic tools to do things. And this is a very important part, but this is our core knowledge. And then the boosting my career is our students come because they want whether to find a new job in technology, in the digital economy, or they want to upskill themselves to get a better position in their own company. And this is our goal. Our goal is not just to learn something, I give you a certificate. So we start and we will train you because that's what you need. But we are with you. We don't finish our job until you get whether it is your new position or your new job. And in this boosting my career, we'll have the student to prepare the resume. And we have a tool for that to improve the LinkedIn profile. We help them. Something very important is to prepare the personal pitch. I mean, many people, they don't know how to explain themselves and how to talk and how to really normally our students and people in general, we tend to underestimate ourselves. And when you say, explain me what you know, who are you, what you do, why should I hire you? So normally people, they are humble, are shy, they don't, and we really help them to prepare this personal pitch, to realize how much value they have over their history, to really put value on whatever they have done before, whatever it is. Because normally say, well, we are in I want to go to technology, but what I did before has nothing to do, is not. But if you go a little bit in depth, you see that you have done many good things and you have developed good skills. So this put everything together to develop the personal pitch and then train them to pass a personal interview and a technical interview. And this is the whole package. This is what we do with them.
In terms of you mentioned about the concept of this style of learning. So how did that idea come about? Because obviously that's breaking away from the traditional style of learning by listening and then maybe doing after. Why did this idea?
Well, honestly, the whole story goes back 30, 35 years. Because I told you was my first company that we built, and the software company was acquired by Andersen Consulting. Andersen Consulting is the company that afterwards became Accenture, right? Today, Accenture in the beginning was called Andersen Consulting, and they acquired our company. And then I joined Andersen Consulting, and this is when I went to live in Madrid. And at that time, Andersen launched several research projects, and one of them was what they called the Institute for the Learning Sciences. And this was a research project with Northwestern University in Chicago. And in this Institute for the Learning Sciences, the idea was how we can use or we could use technology to improve education, right? It's a very simple idea, but they hired a person. It was Roger Chang. It was one of the founding fathers of cognitive science and artificial intelligence that they left Yale University and joined and created this Institute for the Learning Sciences. And I had the opportunity to work with that. And then whatever I learned and all the ideas that we are implementing now after 30 years, because it has taken a lot, came from the Institute for the Learning Science and from Roger Chang. And then Roger, well, we became friends and partners, and and Roger passed away in February this year. So, but the point is, in the Institute for the Learning Science, they developed and did all the basic concepts, models that we are using today to develop this content.
Yeah, because I think it's a very, from my experience living and working in other countries in education, I noticed that a lot of places are very set on this passive style, and it was a bit scary sometimes. For example, with living in Japan, I would help them with grammar, and it would take maybe 5 minutes to do a grammar exercise in English. But then I would ask them, okay, let's talk, let's use your imagination. And there was nothing. And I think that's just because there was a lack of the experience of having the opportunity to produce something. And I think also in the UK, maybe not as much as that, but there is sometimes some, especially at university, it was a lot of just take it in, and not so much production. So I think it's really interesting, especially in the world of tech, if you're jumping in, you don't really know what you should do. And it's like, okay, we'll just jump in the deep end, and little by little, you'll get it. So it's a good theory. Do you think this style of learning, or maybe even just tech in general, like programming, should that be part of the school curriculum nowadays?
Sure. I mean, totally. I mean, but the point is not only technology. I mean, the whole school curriculum is flawed. I mean, whatever we are teaching in the school, it's irrelevant for students. That's why we have a lot of problems with young people. Because, well, I've written a book about that, so I can talk a lot. But the point is, everything we do in a school is wrong. So it's not only that we will solve the problems with teaching some pieces of programming there of technology, it's that fundamentally everything is wrong. Everything is passive listening, it's memorizing, is subjects that really are irrelevant for the student. If you have to learn English literature and read Dickens at the age of 12, is irrelevant, or you have to read El Quijote at the age of 13, is irrelevant, nobody cares. If you have to learn math because you are spoon-feed the math when you are 14, it's irrelevant. I mean, everything is wrong. There is nothing which is done to help the student really develop their own skills. It's everything done to help the teacher to do their job. But anyway, this is another discussion.
Bad memories. I remember, lots of. I mean, I feel bad because obviously when I say I'm from England, people say like, "Oh, I love Shakespeare," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm fed up with Shakespeare too much." Just
no, but for example, well, I don't know. I have never read the Quixote, but because I never interested. But I read Dickens when I was older, and I like it very much. But this is not something that you are interested when you're 12. Okay, so
yeah. Just one final thing then. If somebody wanted to have the same career as you, what advice would you give to them?
Honestly, my career, and now that I am looking at it, it simply happened. I mean, really was nothing planned. And the most successful parts of my career have been always something that involved a lot of discovery and a very few planning. And when I really had goals and I worked for large corporation, it was very frustrating. So it depends. I don't know. I would say that you have to feel in your guts, and to follow your instincts and think about what you're really good and what really fulfills your day when you are doing something that really is you are passionate about and you like and you enjoy doing it, despite whatever other inconvenience or even the salary that you are making, and do it the best you can, giving as much as you can, and then things happen.
Okay, take risks and things happen. Follow your passions.
Take risks,
So.
yes, and do things with a lot of energy, a lot of love, and a lot of intelligence. If you put the three components together and you do something, it's impossible that it fails. It can be better, very well, not that well, but it will work somehow, and you will get something out of it.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, we wish you all the best with 3 out of 5 and ubiquum. And thanks for joining us today.
Okay, thank you, Chris. See you soon.